Video I will be covering how to make a sourdough pizza using a pizza stone. Things first, in the bread maker you wet the bottom. On mine it's setting 11 for dough mixing. Then you put a bunch of flour in. The end goal of this is to have about 1.2 kilograms or so of dough in the end. So whatever amount of flour and ingredients gives you that is what you need. I take my yeast. Usually about that much is enough. You can put a little more if you like. I don't bother proofing the yeast. You put some salt in. This is the salt. About 2 of these should do it. You could put a little bit more. Then we put the sugar. About 2 tablespoons of sugar usually works. Then you put some more flour on top. And you pour in the room temperature sourdough starter. I usually let this sit out of the fridge for about the whole day before I pour it in. So a little bit of that. Oops. And you press start. And you add water as necessary, or add flour until the dough isn't sticky to your finger anymore. Looks like it's time to top up the water in here a bit. Just a tiny bit. It might also be necessary to add a little bit more flour so we get the ball in the correct amount. Next, have a look at the dough, see how much it weighs. You need about 1.2 kilograms, and obviously I'm a little short, so I'll throw it back in and add some more flour and add some more water. A 16-inch pizza needs about 550 grams at least. Weighing number 2, so this is exactly what we want. The dough hasn't finished mixing, so I'll pop it back in. Once you're happy with the dough, it's time to divide it in half. So one half will be for one pizza, the other half will be for the other pizza. Again, you want about 550 or a little bit higher for each ball. So let's see how close it is. Close enough. Close enough. The next step is to proof your dough or let it double in size. So to do that, you could use a proofing bowl, like one of those fancy ceramic bowls with the steps on them. But I found that a plastic bag that you get at the grocery store for fruits tends to work really well as well. So you pop that in. You put it in you wrap it up. You put it in a not too hot and not too cold place. and you let it double in size. Once it's doubled, you can freeze it till when you're ready to use the pizza. Usually after that, it tastes the best after a day or two. It's been about 4 hours and the dough has doubled in size. It's not sticky. I can dump them in the freezer until I need them. I found that the one quick way to slice cheese is to use the potato peeler. It seems to give good results. And when slicing the pepperoni, that's best achieved with a frozen pepperoni, and with the slicer set to the thin setting. So something like that. So there we go. We have nice thin pepperoni. For the pizza dough, I just use my regular sourdough bread. Maybe add a little bit more salt, but I use the regular sourdough starter bread that I used in my previous recipe. The one good thing about this is you could freeze it and use it later. It's about 611 grams per 16-inch pizza. When expanding the dough, it's just kind of good to go around the corners. This dough has been sitting for maybe a day. It's really hard to show with one hand, but the idea is to kind of stretch it on your hand like you've seen in other people's videos. Kind of stretches nicely. Here I'm taking out the pizza stone off the second top rack of the oven once it was preheated. Really hard to do this with one hand, but here we go. Oops. All right, once that's done, I'm going to put my dough on. Is on the hot pizza stone, so we just stretch it to the edges. If it's a little over, that's probably okay. You could see the steam coming off the bottom. Tomato sauce is added. You could use pizza sauce or whatever kind of sauce you want. Don't put too much. I found spreading the sauce with the bottom of a spoon tends to work the best. It's probably a good idea to mimic the taste of store-bought pizza. Just add some sugar. This is the secret ingredient in a lot of pizzas. Okay, you could add some garlic salt if you want. Some oregano or basil. Oops, that was too much. And some onion powder. Next, we add the cheese we sliced earlier. A star pattern tends to work okay when all the cheese melts. And I noticed there is a difference between regular mozzarella cheese and pizza mozzarella cheese. The pizza mozzarella tends to brown up and match what you get at the pizzerias better. When you're done with cheese, you put your pepperonis. And when you're done, just dump all the rest of your ingredients. So there we go. We're done. So I'm going to put the pizza into the oven. Again, it's super difficult to do this one-handed, so here we go. Okay, and then there we go. So there's our pizza. We close the oven. We set it for about 12 minutes. Maybe a bit more, just for. And we wait. Let's have a peek how the pizza's doing to see if we need to add more time or not. So it looks like the pizza's still a little bit whitish, so it might need a little bit more time. You might be tempted to open the oven and see how the pizza's doing. Don't. These electric ovens don't have enough power to get the 700 degrees you're supposed to have to cook these things. So we can't afford any heat escaping. Oh, I lied. Actually, the pizza is done. The way you know it's done is if it isn't sticking to the bottom, and if the top isn't burnt. So I'll take it out now. Have a look at that. It's just sizzling nice and crisp. Once the pizza's done, you have to give it maybe 10-15 minutes to cool down, because it is piping hot. You could get burnt if you try to bite into this. Just look at that. Look at the crust. Because the pizza stone was super hot when I put the dough on it, I didn't even bother to put any flour or cornstarch underneath, and it seems not to stick. So I'll give it a few minutes. Once the pizza's cool and off the pizza stone, you can probably cut it. You know it's baked well if it cuts well. If it's difficult to cut, then dough was the wrong consistency. I'm only having difficulty here because... All right. And there we go. It's cooked because you don't see any clumpy ends. And that's how I make a pizza. I hope someone found this useful, and enjoy.